even faze me. I've had a hater that's showing me love, and I've had a lover betray me. I've had a lot of lessons, still got a lot of questions, still don't got any answers. Eat your veggies, pray for a lot of blessings, die from like 20 cancers. That's why I'm taking these drugs, that's why I'm up till the morning. Shot after shot after shot, I can't stop it, I'm zoning. Shrugging like Jordan did playing against Portland. Still can't afford all the shit that I need. I get too anxious when I hit the weed. I take a pill and I'm feeling relieved. I take another, I triple the speed. I've been so close I can taste it. I've been so far, I've been patient. I take a bar and get wasted. Part of my brain is erased when I go to Mars in the spaceship. It's written all on my face and no one relates. I don't know how long I can take it. You wanna smile, I'ma fake it. Copy and paste it, that's an alright imitation, yeah. I'm looking happy online, but it's not what you think. I'm losing touch if I'm touching the screen. 1 minute I think I love everybody, and then I'm like, fuck everything. I'm looking happy online, but it's not what you think. I'm losing touch if I'm touching the screen. 1 minute I think I love everybody, and then I'm like, fuck everything. On a
Ayo! Be back to reading.
And I am stuck in the middle. I can't make a decision. I don't think I'm suicidal, but if I was,
really like the Elsa vibe I'm getting from my hair. Just waiting for people to fill in and stuff, but we'll be reading more today. More of book 5 of the Wings of Fire, called The Brightest Night. We are over halfway through the book already, so that's exciting. Yeah, I might need to like change up my schedule again because of all the new things I wanna do. So we're gonna finish the book on Wednesday, and then we're gonna have 2 days with I blanked. 2 days with me trying out the genocide route of Undertale. Torture myself that way, because I'm actually a pacifist. And then we are going to be drawing more in the weekend. Stop that. I keep getting bots trying to send me messages on Instagram, and I'm like, why? We're joined by my kitty. Well, one of them. He's right over there. Kessa! Handsome boy. He's been to the vet today. So he's a handsome boy. He's been in a lot of fights with stray cats that approached on our territory, on our ground. So he's been defending our land from stranger cats, from unknown cats, which has resulted in him getting pretty hurt in the face. As far as I know, it's only like 1,000 Danish crowns. We ended up having to give at the vet for like medicine, like consulting medicine, etc. Which isn't that bad actually. Considering usually when people think about going to the vet with your pets, with cats, it's like 2,500 Danish crowns. Let's see, it's 1,000 Danish crowns, which was around what we gave, is like $163. And what people assume you're going to like be giving for it is like $407. So yeah, we got off easy there. It wasn't so bad. His yeah, his eye is not looking too great. It's very watery, and right now he can't open it properly. And his right cheek is also swollen a bit. And has bruises and stuff. As well as his ear. But... well... just chillin', letting people discover that I've gone live. Hey y'all! We'll just be reading today, but I'm glad you're here. Considering it was actually a reading stream. Those fat shaming people came in, so it's somehow always during those my reading streams that they find me. Apparently what I'm doing is so interesting that they have to try and disrupt it. I'm glad to have you. Let's actually see if we can get my cat over here. Peace out. Here is the beautiful lad. Here's the pretty boyo. Handsome lad. Look, you can see it, right? Yeah. He's been to the vet today, so he's getting some medicine and stuff. Yeah. He's been defending us from random cats that approach our land. I think he took it well, being to the vets. He's very, he doesn't have a lot of energy right now, and now I am filled with cat hair because of him. Yeah. But I think the medicine he's started today is kind of taking his energy away. So he doesn't have as much energy right now as he usually has, which is good. He needs to take it easy for a while. Isn't that right, kitty? Yeah. He's been in my room for most of the day. Like, here a couple hours ago, I discovered that he'd been behind my couch, which is behind my flags. So aww. Kitty. We should be behind my computer now. But yeah. We're just reading today. We're halfway through the 5th book in the series, Wings of Fire. And I'm thinking once I've actually finished the entire series, that I might try and read it again, because there were some streams that I forgot to download in the beginning, and I'm thinking of uploading all my streams to YouTube. So yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And we're like, okay, that's way over halfway actually. But we got 3 streams left. Today and then the next 2 days with reading. And then we'll be taking 2 days to try and start the genocide route of Undertale, which I am so scared to do because I'm a pacifist and I've really bonded with all the characters. I now need to kill them. Oh, and I'm not looking forward to Seance's fight. And then the weekend will be chill drawing again. Yeah. But yeah. Oh. It's starting to get a bit hard. Water. Remember to hydrate. Yeah. That's just what I've been doing the past 2 days. Just continuing a work in progress I've had for like since like August or something. Like I'm just adding details to the background. It's mostly the background right now that I'm working on. Like I have colored the person. I did that Saturday. I did that Saturday, which, you know, wasn't actually much of a bother. But it's a background that really, like, demotivated me from continuing it, because the trees are, they are so detailed. I have really challenged myself. So, the trees are pain. I hate drawing trees. Like, when I say I hate trees, I am referring to that I hate drawing trees, because like without trees we wouldn't survive, you know? So trees are rad, but drawing them is a massive pain in the ass. And then the lake, I also need to like draw the lake and make it look good. But I'm thinking I'll be hopefully finishing it on Saturday. I also need a second camera to like point down on my drawing when I draw, so you don't just sit and watch my face just sitting here. But you can actually see what I'm doing as well. I need to do that. But I'm getting money Thursday, so I might try and get another face cam for that. But yeah. But we've hit 10-minute mark, and for some reason I just went to like use the first 10 minutes with doing absolutely nothing and just talking before doing what I actually wanted to do at stream. But yeah. But we are reading chapters 16 to 20 today of The Brightest Night Dragon books. And we left off with Sunny being rescued. Oh, why? What's going on, El? What's going on? I really hope God could save me. These niggas gon' drive me crazy. Not working, but they say pay me. I can't let it fade me, baby, I won't. Okay. The image of the money in the ice for y'all, not getting any clearer. And the realest nigga that I know live in the mirror. I really hope God could save me. These niggas gon' drive me crazy. Might pull up in brand new Mercedes. I can't let it fade me, baby, I won't. happens. Sometimes it's just me watching myself. Yeah, I can tell. But yeah. And someone streaming with no people watching is basically like them recording a video to put out to others. I've never actually thought about that before. But now I am so filled with cat hair now. Thanks, Pews. But yeah, we left off with Sunny being rescued by her mom, and her starting to go back to the flying back to the rainforest to her friends. So yeah, let's see how well that goes, and if they even noticed she was gone. Because she's been gone for quite a few days. Ow! I hit myself a lot for some reason. Anyway, chapter 16. The plan was to go straight to the rainforest. As tempted as Sunny was by the idea of meeting her father, she was more worried about her friends. She needed to go back and warn them fast. But the weather had other plans. A gale-force wind howled down the mountains that night, carrying with it the worst storm Sunny had ever been caught in. Not that she'd encountered many living in the caves her whole life, but there was that one hurricane in the Kingdom of Sea, and Sunny was pretty sure this was worse. Or maybe it only felt worse as she was alone and caught outside with no shelter and rapidly becoming very, very wet. The rain pelted in her eyes and dragged down her wings, while the wind kept trying to slam her into the cliffs, and the whole time thunder roared as though the clouds were playing drums on the mountaintops. Lightning cracked terrifyingly close to her wings, and Sunny thought, I won't be able to save anyone if I end up in as a fiery heap in a ravine. Aww. She veered toward the peak of Jade Mountain, the one solid thing she could identify in this driving storm. Will he be here? Will he want to meet me? Will he be scary or awful or dangerous? Will he be like Orca, the crazy anime seawing who killed all those dragonettes? She wished she had Clay or Tsunami with her. That would have been better, if she could have gone back to the rainforest first and gotten one of them to come along, so she didn't have to meet her mysterious, powerful, potentially homicidal father alone. But the storm drove her on as if it had talents of its own, dragging her up the mountain with a shrieking fury. Soaking wet and exhausted, shivering with anxiety, Sunny finally crash-landed in a cave high up in the mountain's south side. She stumbled to a stop, scraping her scales painfully on the rocky floor, and shook out her wings in a flurry of droplets. It was dark inside, and Sunny thought it was unlikely that she'd have accidentally wandered into the exact cave where her father lived. Surely there were other caves all over the mountain, but the darkness made her uneasy, and cautiously she breathed out a plume of fire. Nothing. An empty stone cavern loomed around her, not that different from the one she'd grown up in. She breathed more fire, letting it warm her from the inside, and searched the cave until she found a thick branch that had been swept inside by the storm. She set it ablaze and held it up to use as a torch. Sorry, UTR. Oh, by the way, way earlier today, I started yawning, and at the very same time, our rooster started crowing, like at the exact length of my yarn as well, so it looked like I was the one crowing. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, back to the book. The flickering light revealed a gap in the rocks in the back corner. When she investigated, she found a sort of natural tunnel that seemed to lead further into the mountain, and a cave system that probably ran all the way through it. Sunny hesitated, leaning against the stone wall. Should she rest here and fly on in the morning? Maybe she could leave unnoticed and come back when she had reinforcements. But how could I get this close to my father and not try to see him? She thought of Peril and Crestle, and how Peril had thought they'd have more time to get to know each other. You never know what might happen. That decided her. Holding up the torch, she slipped into the gap and started down the rocky slope beyond. She wandered for what felt like a long time. For what felt like a long time. Marking the walls with her claws whenever she came to a fork in the tunnels. She found caves dripping with now I need to say this word correctly. Stalactites? Yeah, stalactites. Not stalagmites. Stalactites. Clambering over rocks like giant bubbles. Flew over a dark pool with no ripples, where her torch reflected eerily across the glassy surface. It felt familiar, being underground like this. She wondered if other dragons, especially other sandwings, would be more unnerved by these surroundings. But this was so familiar to the small enclosed world she grew up in. She almost expected to turn a corner and find the study cave, with the map spread against the wall and scrolls piled in the corner, and her friends arguing over who would play plays when they acted out the history of the war. And then she stopped in a narrow passageway with a low, craggy ceiling. Was that breathing? She held her own breath and listened. It sounds like breathing. Air rasped quietly in and out, as if something large was sitting concealed in shadows, not too far away, maybe even watching her. Sunny's scales crawled, and she clutched the torch closer. Do not panic. Listen. After a long moment, she realized that the breathing was even and rhythmic. That's not the sound of something lurking. That's the sound of a dragon sleeping. She crept up a passageway toward the noise. I think it's this way. Sharp edges of rocks caught on her tail and stopped at her feet as she climbed. Closer and closer. The torchlight flickered suddenly, dripping and swaying, and then Sunny felt it as well. A gust of wind whistling down the tunnel from far away. She lifted the torch higher and saw that the tunnel widened into a cave only a few paces ahead. At first, as she edged closer, the cave looked empty. But then the firelight reflected off something black and glossy in the shadows against the back wall. Scales. Black scales, rising and falling in sleep. It was a nightwing for sure. Sunny stopped and stared at the slumbering dragon. Is that my father? He was bigger than Thorn, but not enormous, nowhere near the size of Morosia or Burn. Deep lines were etched into his face, so he looked as if he were in pain even in his sleep. His talons were curled awkwardly into stiff shapes, and his tail flopped heavily again along the ground behind him, barely moving as he breathed, as though it were made of stone. Sunny took a quick breath in and stepped closer. It wasn't just his tail. Other parts of the dragon, his back legs, his shoulders, the edge of his wings, looked heavier and thicker than normal dragon scales. It's like he's actually turning into stone. Is that possible? She lifted the torch and peered at the section of tail closest to her. The black scales looked like dark pebbles here, sinking into the skin beneath. She was so preoccupied studying this odd phenomena that it took her a moment to realize that the dragon's eyes had opened and he was staring back at her. Oh! She gasped, jumping back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. The storm... I don't bite, he said in a deep, serious voice. Oh, Sunny said again. Well, that's good. You mean you don't bite other dragons, right? Like me? Are you being reassuring? He slowly blinked at her. I don't bite other dragons. Great, said Sunny, not feeling very reassured. It was unsettling how he hadn't moved a muscle of his body as he spoke to her. Even his jaws seemed to hinge very slowly open for him to talk. So, hi, I'm Sunny. He didn't answer. She waited a moment, then said, Are you Stonemower? That seemed to surprise him a little, if the tiny flicker of movement in his brow meant anything. Yes. It is my father. It's really him. Wait. Oh, sorry, that was... I thought the reflection in my computer corner was like something behind me, something back behind me sweeping along. He's alive and right in front of me, and he doesn't look crazy and homicidal, he just looks sad. Stonemower blinked again. How did the Talons find out my name? I'm not from the Talons, she said. Do the Talons come here? Oh right, Crystal said we could send her a message through you. I guess that would be useful when you're an underground movement and never know where you'll have to hide. True, he said. After all, I'm not going anywhere. Oh, Sunny said, glancing at his scales. Because what happened to you? You're nosier than the Talons, he observed, but without any anger in his voice. It's my animus curse. Really? Sunny said, this happened to you when you used your magic? I thought you'd lose your, soul or something, not this. She waved her claws at the petrified scales weighing him down. I turned the magic on itself, he said. The curse appears in my scales now instead of taking my soul. He sighed through his nose, a sad, windy sound that with drifts of smoke. Too late anyway. Too late for what? Sunny asked. My soul. He managed to turn his head a fraction toward her with an eerie creaking sound. His dark eyes were as still and unreadable as the underground cave lake. The things I have done. You mean building the tunnels? Sunny said, and now there was a definite flash of surprise all the way through his eyes. Then it faded and his eyes narrowed as he examined her from horns to talons. It might have been scary once, his expression, except that the rest of him was so pathetic and sad. He could hardly even move. Sunny didn't feel afraid of him at all. Who are you? He asked. Well, this felt awkward, just throwing it out mid-conversation. But how could she tell him? How else could she tell him? Was there an easy, not shocking way to break this kind of news? Okay, the truth is, I'm your daughter. Dawn is my mother. I only just found her just yesterday. No, 2 days ago. And she told me about you and... Sunny talked on, not sure what to think of the expressions darting across Stonemower's face. Confusion, suspicion, hope, dismay, maybe anger? And I wanted to meet you. I hope you... Well, I know it's weird, because she never got a chance to tell you about me, so... We had eggs? He rasped. You had me, Sunny said. An egg, one dragon egg. Just me. She looked down at her talons. Mother wanted to tell you, but she never got your note. She didn't know you were here until she found it yesterday. She's been looking everywhere for you. Her father sighed through his nose and closed his eyes. I thought she'd given up on me. She might have now, Sunny said, trying to prompt more of a response. Why didn't he care more? Why hadn't he tried harder? She felt a wave of sympathy for her mother. Why didn't you go look for her? I'm not the right dragon for Thorn, he said. Perhaps I never was. She obviously thought you were, Sunny pointed out. She really worried about you. He sighed again. He sighs a lot, Sunny thought, wishing she could poke something into his nose and make him stop. There's nothing I can do. I did all the wrong things a long, long time ago, and nothing can change that. Something suddenly scrabbled in the dark nearby, and Sunny nearly leaped onto Stonemower's back in terror. But when she flung the torch around and then down, the light reflected off tiny little eyes and pointed ears and wet russet fur. It was a fox, sauntering into their cave as bold as anything. Sunny realized it had come down another passageway, and she could feel the wind coming from that direction as well. The passage must lead to an exit out to the mountainside. The fox carried a dead squirrel in its jaws, and it gave Sunny a scornful look, as if it certainly didn't expect her to dare pick a fight with someone as tough as him. Shoo! Sunny said sternly. Go find yourself another cave. Oh, this is dinner, Stonemower said. He hinged his jaw open, and to Sunny's wonder, the fox trotted over and dropped the squirrel right into his mouth. It stepped back and gave Sunny another haughty look as Stonemower began to chew. Wow, Sunny said. Foxes are intelligent too? Like scavengers? What if all animals are smarter than we think they are? Is there going to be any prey left that I won't feel bad about eating? How did you train it to do that? Stonemower waited until he'd swallowed, and then he said, I didn't. I enchanted him. Sunny frowned at the fox. You mean with animus magic? That only works on things, not animals. Turns out it works on animals, said Stonemower, if you're desperate and try hard enough. She folded her wings in and shivered. That's creepy. Dinner won't mind, he replied, and it took her a moment to figure it out. You call the fox dinner? She said. Why not? His shoulder moved an infinitesimal amount. Just the smallest of strokes. Infinitesimal. Because that's peculiar, she said, and really creepy for him if he knew what you were saying. I don't think about it, he said. I've never introduced him to anyone before. Anyway, I only enchanted him to bring me food every few days. He still has a fine ordinary life as a fox, I'm sure. As if in answer to this, Dinner shook himself vigorously, scattering water all over Sunny, and then trotted out of the cave again. I mean, Stonemower concluded, they had to do something, or I would have starved. Sunny said. She didn't like the thought of any dragon using magic to control a living being. Would animus magic work on something bigger than a fox? She didn't want to follow that thought to its possible conclusion. I can't believe I have a daughter, Stonemower said, and Sunny felt a little warmer toward him, hearing the sadness in his voice. I used to dream. I would think about what our dragonettes might look like, if Thorn and I ever... But I thought it was too late. I bet you didn't picture me, Sunny said ruefully. I don't have the Sandwing tail barb, and I also don't have any cool Nightwing powers. I always thought maybe I looked weird because of the prophecy somehow, but... He would have sat up if he could, she could tell. His head twitched a little closer to her. His breath smelled like squirrel. Prophecy? About the dragonette saving the world and stopping the war, Sunny said. You know, you must know. Yes, he mused. I'm one of them. she said, hidden alone from the rival queens. That's me. It's kind of a long story. But he started and paused. And then Sunny was scared, because the look in his eyes was the look of news she knew she didn't want. And it was righteousness and pity and truth and truth is an important thing, and she didn't want it. She didn't want him to say it. Stop, don't, she blurted, but at the same time he said, but don't you know, the prophecy isn't real. End of chapter 16. And we gotta drink a bit of water, you know, hydrate, don't hydrate. It is nice and sunny outside. And no longer a strong wind. Yes, I'm so happy about that. I hate strong winds. Hey, welcome to people just tuning in. So, she met her father now. He's slowly turning into stone because of his magic. Oh dear. Aww, well, kitty. Hey, kitty. Aww. Chapter 17. Stonemower said, studying her expression. You did know. You know it's fake. Well, I've heard it, Sunny said. The walls felt as if they were tilting in toward her. She curled her claws and twitched her tail, avoiding his eyes. That's what Marusia said. But why should we trust him? Stonemower managed to look faintly amused. Marusia wouldn't make himself seem any less powerful if he could ever avoid it. He must have been forced to tell you the truth for some reason. He was manipulating us like always, Sunny said. But just because I don't like him doesn't mean the prophecy couldn't be real. Oh, little dragon, Stonemower said, and she got the feeling he'd already forgotten her name. I promise you the prophecy is not real. I was there when they came up with it. I was also there when the Nightwing tribes were ordered to write more about our so-called powers, building them up in every scroll, every story. Queen Battlewinter planned that carefully, but no Nightwing has had any power to see the future or read minds in over 100 years, if anyone ever did. That is the truth. Damn! Wow. So they all lost their Nightwing abilities. Damn! Sunny wanted to throw things and yell like her mother did when she was angry. Nightwings, she growled. You guys make it really, really hard to like you. Why are you telling me this? You obviously haven't told the Talons, or everyone would know. Because I suspect I am dying, he said with a dry cough, and someone should know. If not my own daughter, then who? Well, hooray, Sunny said. Lucky me. She tucked her tail around her talons and hunched her wings up. After a moment, she said, Really? Are you really dying? I'm always dying, he answered, which made Sunny want to poke him in the nose. She honestly had no idea why her mother had even liked this dragon. But at least he's telling me the truth. That's more than I can say for most of the grown-up dragons I've ever known. She tried to push down the bitterness she felt about Nightwings and all their lives. She tried to look at just Stonemower, her father, and see him as his own dragon, not one of a tribe. He's really sad. Imagine if I had been born with animus powers into a terrible place like Nightwing Island. The Queen must have used him from the moment they found out what he could do. He never had a choice about what to do with his life. Maybe nobody does. Even though I want to end the war so badly, maybe there's nothing I can do. The prophecy was really fake. Her life was really a lie. She was really not special. And she was really not destined to save the world. She looked at her father, whose eyes had closed. His breathing was starting to slow down, as if he were falling asleep again. "Can I stay here tonight?" she asked. "Please do," he said quietly. Sunny blew out the torch and curled up in a ball in the warmest corner of the cave, across from Stonemower's petrified scales. She rested her chin on her front talons, feeling like her own scales were made of stone too, heavy and exhausting to lug around. She wished she could wake up back in the cave under the mountain 2 months ago, before any of this had happened, when she still believed in the prophecy, their destiny, a wonderful future, and perfect parents waiting out there for all of them. Her eyes closed, and her sadness drifted away into sleep. Sunny was back in the stronghold, wandering through Byrne's Weirdling collection. Except instead of a tower, it had become an endless maze of increasingly creepy oddities. Every time she turned a corner, a new disturbing thing lurched toward her. She realized Flower was sitting on her shoulder, holding onto her neck like one of the rainforest sloths and chattering quietly to herself. It was comforting only for a moment, and then a headless grey dragon suddenly loomed out of the shadowy doorway, tottering at her and splattering blood from its claws. Sunny leaped aside, pressing her back against the wall. She closed her eyes. Stop, don't be scared. This is just a dream. You are safe now, far away from Byrne." She imagined the bright rolling sand of the desert, trying to change her dream's surrounding by force of will. After a few moments, she felt the warmth of sunlight on her face, and she opened her eyes. It had worked. She was standing on the desert sand, and right in front of her was the scavenger. Sunny started back with a yelp of surprise, and so did the scavenger, but it didn't turn and run, and it didn't scream. It just stood there and blinked at her with enormous brown eyes. She reached up to her shoulder. Flower was still there. The scavenger in front of her was not Flower. Sunny had never seen it before. Oh. Okay. Aww, Sunny thought, it's so cute. She guessed it was female, like Flower, although this one seemed smaller and younger. Seeing Flower, that's probably why she was dreaming about scavengers. Although it was surprising to dream up one she'd never seen before. A long dark mane flowed from the scavenger's head down to the middle of her back, and she had the same adorable little nose and monkey features as Smolder's pet, including the long, thin, clever paws with no claws on the end. Sunny tilted her head at the scavenger's paws. Wait! She was holding something about the size of an orange, which caught the desert sunlight with a shimmer of blue. While Starflight had been trapped with his night wings, he'd found a way to communicate with his friends by dropping into their dreams, using an old animist-touched sapphire called a Dream Visitor. Apparently, there were 3 of them out there in the world somewhere, and he had found one on the Nightwing Island. Glory had explained it to Sunny and Clay and Tsunami, rolling her eyes as if she couldn't believe they'd forgotten that one sentence in the scroll they'd studied years ago. Sometimes she could be as bad as Starflight, although nobody would ever dare tell her that. Sunny took a step toward the scavenger, but she didn't even flinch back. Instead, she took a step toward Sunny, holding out her free paw. She pointed at Flower and chattered something. Am I not dreaming? Is this real? Couldn't Scavenger possibly have a dream visitor? How would it have gotten a dragon jewel like that? She inhaled sharply, flaring her wings. The only possible way, by stealing it from the Queen of the Sandwings 20 years ago. Where did you get that? She asked, flicking her tail at the jewel in the scavenger's paw. The scavenger looked down at the dream visitor. Her eyes widened, and the desert sand behind her suddenly went blurry. Sunny caught a glimpse of black shapes around her, towering against a background of trees and moonlight. With a muffled yelp, the scavenger gave Sunny a fierce look, clutched the sapphire to her chest and vanished. Wait! Sunny shouted. I need that treasure! She pounced on the spot where the scavenger had been, digging frantically in the sand. But of course, it was gone, popping out of her dreams as abruptly as it had popped in. And there was no way to get her back. The scavenger was the one who had the dream visitor, and therefore controlled where she went and who she saw. But why would she visit me, and how? I thought you could only visit the dreams of dragons you've met before, or seen. She must have seen me somewhere, sometime while we were traveling around Pyria, although I'm sure I didn't see her. Sunny sat down, sweeping her claws through the sand. So if I can figure out where, maybe I can find her and the stolen sandwing treasure. She closed her eyes and concentrated, trying to bring back those blurry dark shapes that she'd glimpsed behind the scavenger just for a moment. They'd looked familiar, and there had been trees too, but it wasn't the kingdom of the sea or the sky kingdom. Where were the scavengers in the rainforest? The trees didn't look tall enough. Sunny's eyes snapped open. The forest between the mountains and the desert! Where I saw the ruins of the old scavenger den. The little scavenger was in the ruins! Which means now I know where to start looking. End of chapter 17 and end of part 2 of the book. And now we are moving on to part 3 called The Eye of Onyx, which was one of the treasures that were stolen 20 years ago from Queen Oasis when she died. Queen Oasis of the Sandwings. Hydration time, guys! Oh, my nose is so itchy. Hey, little kitty. Aww. Mish, 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 mish. Hey. Yes, hey. Don't wanna come say hi? No, I understand that. Don't have a lot of energy. That's okay. Ugh. Oh yeah, I also remembered that I need to order a test, COVID test, in like a week, because I need to show a corona pass that I'm negative, because I'm going to get my hair done. Like, I need to get some hair chopped off. I need to get a higher undercut as well. Ooh! Oh yeah, if you like know any cool like patterns and stuff, you could do for side cuts and undercuts, do add me. So like I can show something that I would like them to do, because they're really good. So good. Anyway, that was a bit of a side note. That was small tangent that had nothing to do with the book. Oh, it's just getting warm in here. Like, my radiator's off. So it's starting to finally get springy outside. I just really hope that there's no night frost anymore, because we have bees and they're going out of hibernation soon, and that means they're going to fly around the garden pollinating, and if there's still frost during the night, then pollinated flowers will die. So that's fun. Ugh. Oh, well, that was again a bit of a tangent. We have a large fruit tree. Meebles? I don't know what they're called in English. But it's very old and it is pretty during the spring. It has a lot of white flowers and everything. Anyway, we have 3 chapters left. Chapter 18. It was still raining when Sunny woke up the next morning. She could hear the pitter-patter at the far end of the passageway, and the breeze that gusted toward them smelled damp and fresh. Ooh, sorry. But it came along with dim morning light, and the wind wasn't as cold or fierce as it had been the night before. She felt sure that the worst of the storm had passed. My nose is itchy. She stood up and stretched, reaching her wings as wide and high as they could go, and pressing her talons out in front of her. Imagine a cat stretching, basically. Everything felt less awful somehow. Her father was still asleep. Sunny hesitated, half tempted to leave without saying goodbye, but she couldn't do that to him. Stone mower? She picked up the burnt stick she'd used for a torch and nudged a part of his shoulder that didn't look entirely made of stone yet. Humph, he answered, his eyes slowly peeled open. I have to go, she said. Already? He sighed, this time long and smoky, so she had to take a step back to breathe. Can't you stay? It's really quiet here. Really lonely, you mean? She thought. I'm sorry, she said, then added with a burst of excitement. I think I've figured out how to end the war. I think I found a clue, sort of. At least I have an idea. Stone Mower's eyes were dark and puzzled. But, he said, but why? The prophecy isn't real, remember? That doesn't matter, she said. I'm not doing it because a prophecy told me to. If I can stop the war, I think I should. It would be nice if someone else would take care of it, but maybe that's what everyone else is hoping. And maybe someone just has to do it. Said Stonemower. Somehow I suspect it won't be that easy. Maybe it will, Sunny said brightly. I'll find the Eye of Onyx and give it to one of the queens. And that's all it'll take. Ah, said Stonemower. That'll never work. I thought you might say that. Sunny said, don't worry, I'll come back and tell you all about it when it totally does work. She smiled at him, and she thought she saw the slightest movement of a maybe smile twitching around the corners of his mouth. I wish, he said, then stopped. I didn't even know where to begin with wishing. Sunny thought, I wish talents hadn't taken me. No, because then I wouldn't have grown up with my friends. I wish I'd been born like a real sandwing. No, because then I wouldn't be me, and I wouldn't want to be anyone else. Maybe I wish the prophecy were real. I wish I knew for sure that it would work, that this would work. Sunny shook out her wings. Just wish me luck, she said. I'll see you soon. My nose is itchy. She could sense Stonemower watching her gloomily as she headed up the passage, toward the light and the quiet rain. She wondered what her mother would think of him now, how much he had changed since they knew each other. None of my friends got to know both their parents. I'm lucky they're both still alive, and I'm lucky they're not that bad. But now that I've met both of them, I know which one I want to be like. I'm not going to sit in a cave and mope because things aren't the way I want them to be. I'm going to make them happen, the way Thorn started the Outclaws and searched for me. If she'd given up, how would we ever have found each other? She'd have been just another dragon in the Scorpion Den, and maybe our paths would have never crossed. True that. The passage ended in a shallow cave, and now I cards. Always in the middle of sentences. The passage ended in a shallow cave overlooking the mountain range below. The sun was rising in the east, which was also the direction of the rainforest, but the forest with the scavenger was to the west. Do I have time? What if Scarlet gets to the rainforest before I do? Sunny hesitated with her claws gripping the ledge and her wings outspread. Maybe Scarlet had been bluffing about knowing where the dragonets were. How would she guess they were in the rainforest if no one else had found them there? Maybe she was only trying to scare Sunny. Well, she did a good job of that. Too bad I don't have the obsidian mirror anymore. It'd be useful to know what Scarlet was doing. Maybe I should go warn my friends and then come back. But what if a scavenger leaves the ruins? This could be my only chance to find the Eye of Onyx and stop the war. It was a detour, but she had to risk it. She leaned forward and plummeted down the mountainside, soaring west toward the scavenger ruins, and she hoped the missing treasure. The burnt village was easy to spot from the air. A dark gash stark and black against the surrounding greenery. Sunny spiraled toward it, studying the trees with sharp eyes and looking for any movement that might be a scavenger. Nothing so far, but it was late afternoon and Sunny wasn't even sure whether scavengers were normally nocturnal or preferred the day. Both. It's both. We're scavengers, by the way. She landed slightly in a cloud of ash that smelled like a wood fire. The ruins were still and deserted, and Sunny wondered uneasily if she had been wrong. What if the scavenger wasn't here? Or what if she'd been here but was now gone and Sunny had missed her? Think positive. She paced the entire perimeter of the den, searching every structure with even half a wall still standing. Every noise made her freeze and listen, her head cocked to the side, but it was always squirrels in the nearby trees or other little creatures scurrying in the underbush, which reminded her that she was hungry, so she caught a mouse and ate it, sitting on the old bell platform at the center of the village. Well, there was no one here, but that didn't mean she should give up. Maybe the scavenger would return later. Except she probably wouldn't if she spotted a dragon prowling through the ruins. But then again, if she'd stolen the treasure from the Sandwings, that meant she had to be fairly bold and reasonably stupid. Still, Sunny decided to hide just in case. She found a tree with thick overlapping leaves and wide branches and settled into the crook of the trunk, keeping a sharp eye on the burnt village. From here, she had a good view of most of it, and she spent the rest of the day watching and waiting. By nightfall, as one of the moons climbed cheerily up the sky, Sunny had begun to doubt herself. I should just go. I don't have time to sit here. I have to get to my friends in the rainforest. Besides, if she comes during the night, I won't be able to see her anyway. If only I could see in the dark like tsunami. She dug her claws into the bark, forcing herself to be patient. If the Eye of Onyx was nearby, it was worth waiting for. Once she had that, she'd have a way to end the war, which won't stop Scarlet from wanting to kill us, of course. She stared hard at the village, now a shadowy mass of odd lumps and pointy shapes, overlaid with a silvery moonlight. Was that? Something was moving from the forest outside the ruins. A small light bobbed up and down, not far from the ground, blinking in and out as it went beside trees and bushes. Now her ears could pick up the sounds of footsteps. They were very quiet, but here and there a twig snapped, and she recognized the noise of paws brushing through the leaves. Softly, she unwound her tail from the branch and slithered down the trunk. She crept silently through the dark village toward the light as it left the trees and floated toward a set of collapsed stone stairs. If Sunny remembered correctly, if Sunny remembered right from her earlier tour of the ruins. There were two of them, two scavengers. One of them with short, fluffy hair, but the other one's hair was long and she moved in a quick, confident way. Sunny was sure it was the same scavenger from her dream. She waited until they climbed onto the steps and sat down. They were warbling in low tones that sounded like some of the rainforest monkeys. And the one with the long hair sometimes waved paws as if she were drawing a picture in the air. Flower did the same thing, Sunny remembered. Now, the trick would be to approach them and get the treasure without scaring them off, and without getting attacked. They didn't look like they were carrying any sharp little weapons, but you never knew with scavengers according to the scrolls. And if these two had stolen the treasure, that meant they'd killed Queen Oasis, so they could be very dangerous. She paused in the shadows for a moment, considering, and finally decided a direct approach was the only option. Aww. Sorry, cat hair on my tongue. Ugh. Aww. Don't run away, she said, stepping out in front of them and spreading her wings. Both scavengers yelled with fright and promptly tried to run away. Sunny leaped into the air and landed in front of the scavengers from her dream. The scavenger from her dream. That was the one she wanted. I said, don't want to run away, Sunny barked, even though she knew the scavengers couldn't understand her. Hey, come back! She flung her tail out and tripped the little creature as it folded in another direction. I won't eat you, I promise! Oh, Sunny, Sunny, Sunny. She pounced and managed to trap the scavenger between her front talons. The second scavenger suddenly came running out of the ruins and threw something at her. This turned out to be the tiny lamp they'd been carrying, which bounced off Sunny's scales but left a stinging burn where it hit. Ouch! Sunny roared. Alright, I might eat you if you keep doing that! She swept her tail around and knocked the second scavenger over, then picked up the first scavenger and hopped a step back, growling. The scavenger between her claws was kicking and wriggling and being generally impossible. Sunny was trying really hard to hold it gently, but it was like hanging on to a moonbeam. And the other scavenger was already struggling back upright, probably to attack her again. Sunny looked around and spotted a building that hadn't been burned as badly as the rest of them. Two of the walls stood still, forming a corner made of heavy round stones. The walls were as tall as Sunny's head, too tall for a little scavenger to jump off, unless they were more like frogs than Sunny thought they were. She deposited the first scavenger on top of the wall, then whipped around, seized the second scavenger and stuck him up there as well. They both made little yelping sounds and clung to the stones. There, Sunny said. Now you can't run away. She sat down and folded her wings back. So, where is the treasure? The big eyes stared at her. Sunny reached for a branch, set it on fire, and stuck it upright in the ground so she could see them better. The scavenger from her dream pointed at Sunny and chattered something to the other scavenger. If she were my pet, I could give her a name, Sunny thought. Maybe something like Holler, for all that noise she was making. And the other could be Fluffy, for his hair. She smiled. Holler and Fluffy. Totally cute. But also maybe totally responsible for this whole war. If they were the ones who stole the treasure. They looked a little small to be treasure thieves, but then all scavengers were too small to be trying to something that idiotic. The dream visitor, Sunny said, cupping her front talons together as if she were holding a jewel. The one you had in my dream. Where is it? She tilted her head. Holler and Fluffy started arguing, or at least it suddenly looked that way, raising their voices and barking at each other, waving their paws. Sorry, excellently read ahead. Sunny watched this for a moment, then stuck her claws between them and said, "Alright, you're adorable, but that's enough. Dream visitor, treasure, now." She rested her open talons between them. Hala hesitated, looking at Fluffy, and then reached into a pocket for the fabric that was draped around her. She pulled out the sapphire and dropped it into Sunny's palm. "Wow," Sunny said. She hadn't actually expected that to work. She raised the jewel to her eye and studied it. It suddenly looked like the Animus Touch gem from the scrolls. Gems from the scrolls. "Thank you," Sunny said to Holler. "Where's the rest?" Holler blinked at her. Sunny said. She took the jewel and put it on the ground, then drew a large circle around it in the ashes, and mimed adding more jewels to the circle. Then she spread her wings around it and waved at the imaginary pile of treasure. "The rest is of the treasure that you stole. Where this came from." She picked up the dream visitor and waved it again. Fluffy indicated the imaginary treasure and barked something at Holler. Holler ignored him, pointing at Sunny's shoulder, and said something to her in what really sounded like... Oh my god! Pio, stop that! He just moved his paw slightly, and to me it looked like a mouse was coming to me, and I was like, what the fuck? Sorry. Said something to her in what really sounded like an imperious tone of voice, if it wasn't too crazy to think about scavengers trying to order dragons around. Sunny narrowed her eyes at Holler. Now that she had a moment to think about it, she could see that both scavengers were smaller than Flower. They didn't seem entirely full grown. Scavengers reached their full size before 20 years, didn't they? So if the treasure had been stolen 20 years ago, surely it couldn't have been these two who took it. But there was the dream visitor, real and heavy in her claws. Fluffy began chattering vigorously at Sunny. Holler grabbed his shoulder and tried to stop him, but he fended her off. He pointed at the imaginary pile of treasure, and then at himself, and then at Sunny. "That, me, you." And then he mimed picking something up and giving it to Sunny. "Is he offering to bring me to the treasure?" Sunny's hope rose. Holler stamped her foot and snapped at him. He put his paws on his hips and yapped back. "I have an excellent idea," Sunny announced. She gently scooped her claws around Fluffy and lifted him off the wall onto the ground. He yelled and flapped around a bit until she let him go and stepped back. What the fuck? What the fuck? Where did I? He yelled and flapped around a bit until she let go of him and stepped back, and then he stopped, watching her warily. "You go get the rest of the treasure, and then you come give it to me, and you can have Holler back." Sunny tapped Holler lightly on the head. This took a while to sink in. Sunny pointed to the forest, held up the dream visitor, pointed to Fluffy and Holler in several different combinations, until finally Fluffy took a few steps toward the trees, calling up to Holler. She yapped back at him, and he bobbed his fluffy shaggy head, then hurried off into the darkness. "I hope this works," Sunny said to Holler. "I'm not actually going to eat you or anything, even if he doesn't come back." "Yibble, yibble, yibble," Holler said to Sunny, or at least that's what it sounded like. "You're very cute, but you're all a lot of trouble." Sunny said. "Yibble, yibble, yibble!" Holler shouted, pointing over Sunny's shoulder again. Or maybe she was pointing at Sunny's shoulder, where Flower had been sitting in Sunny's stream. "Oh," Sunny said, thinking of Glory's sloth. "Do you want to ride? Are you sure?" Sunny flicked her tail. "You won't be scared?" "Yibble!" Holler demanded. "Alright," Sunny said, scooping her up. Holler shrieked with a little more terror than Sunny thought was necessary, considering she'd asked for this. As Sunny set her on her shoulder, Holler grabbed Sunny's neck and balanced herself across her scales, making startled, yelping noises. "Hold on tight," Sunny said, swinging her head around to check that Holler was firmly in place. She spread her wings and leaped into the air. It was a clear, starry night. All the clouds from yesterday's storm had blown away, and 2 of the moons were half full in the sky overhead. The rustling leaves below them looked like waves rippling on the sea. Sunny soared up in a long arc, swooped down across the forest, and veered back around again. The scavenger was quiet on her back, which was much preferable to shrieking. "I hope Fluffy understood me," Sunny thought. "I hope he hasn't gone to get a pack of other scavengers with those pointy things." Imagine if he really does come back with the missing treasure. I could be moments away from holding the Eye of Onyx. The Eye of Onyx and power over the whole kingdom of sand. Sunny shivered from horns to tail and felt the scavenger clutch her neck tighter. Whoever holds the eye could be queen. Even I could be queen. That would be one way to end the war. None of the 3 sisters wins, and I take the throne. Sunny, queen of the Sandwings. Of course, that would leave 3 dragons with a single unified mission. Kill me. It was scary, but it gave her an eerie thrill to think about too. What if that was her real destiny? To rule the Sandwings? She glanced down at the forest and saw movement near the torch she had lit. Fluffy was back. She tugged in her wings and dove toward the ruins, landing with a thump right in front of him. Fluffy jumped back with a yell. His eyes widened when he saw Holler on Sunny's shoulder, and he lunged into another shouting fit, practically hopping up and down. Holler slid off Sunny's back and joined in. Sunny wasn't interested in their little monkey squabble, though. She was interested in the bulging canvas sack that Fluffy was clutching. Reaching over Holler's head, she deftly lifted the sack out of his paws. She turned toward the firelight and, fidgeting with excitement, emptied the contents of the sack onto the ground. Gold coins and jewels tumbled out and bounced through the ashes, clinking and clattering into a small pile. Most of the jewels were tiny, none as big as the Dream Visitor, and barely worth stealing. The biggest object was a statue of a dragon carved from blue stone with emeralds for eyes. The Lazulite dragon, Sunny guessed, remembering the scrolls about the missing treasure. She sifted through the pile, her heart sinking. She knew the answer at first glance, but she dug through it again, examining every coin, just to be sure she was right. She was. The Eye of Onyx was not there. End of chapter 18. 2 more chapters to go. And this little... this little kitty is dreaming. Aww, little kitty. Meow. Kitty.
I know I'm the one like Neo. Young and finna blow torpedo. Sipping on the drink that's Tito's. Shawty never won no hero.
My pronouns are they, moon.
Shooting my shot, no B-roll. Pico, I reload. One with a lot more zeros. That's my check. Tell them why check. I need to watch like Brody. Niggas get spun like Kilo. Copter. Tell them that the Batman shot ya. Yeah. Someone better call the doctor. When I'm in the UK, order. Let the girls talk to me proper.
Chapter 19. This isn't all of it, Sunny cried, whipping around to face the scavengers. Where's the eye? Why isn't it here? They stopped chattering immediately and jumped away from her, holding their paws up in the air. Fluffy pointed at the sack and gibbled frantically. You must have it. Where else could it be? Sunny started pacing back and forth. She could feel smoke rising from her snout, and she knew she was probably scaring the scavengers, but they didn't run away. I need the Eye of Onyx! It's my only chance! It's my one chance to end the war! She stopped and faced them again. How am I supposed to end the war without it? Yibble? Holler said tentatively. Yibble, yibble? Well said, Sunny said to her. That's very helpful. She sat down and frowned crossly at the pathetic pile of treasure. Ribble yibble, Fluffy said to Holler. Erble yobble, she snapped back. Someone must have it, Sunny said, thinking aloud. If you had it, you'd have brought it to me, because you were worried about Holler. You wouldn't keep the one thing I need, when I'm sure scavengers prefer shiny little things, like all this. So, you don't have the Eye of Onyx, which means it's somewhere else in Pyria. She sighed and then stopped herself mid-sigh so she wouldn't sound like Stonemower. Her first theory was probably right, and some other dragon had stolen most of the treasure. Perhaps they had the Eye of Onyx, and she didn't realize what it was or what it could do. But that didn't help Sunny, who had no way to track down the real thief. She felt something touch her talon and looked down. Holler was standing in the curve of Sunny's wing, patting her talon in a way that seemed to say, "Don't worry, and it's not the end of the world." "You're brave and cute," Sunny told her. "I wish I could keep you. If Glory can have a sloth, I don't see why I can't have a scavenger or two." She glanced at Fluffy, who was edging closer, glancing up at her warily. "But it's too dangerous. I'd feel terrible if one of you got hurt." She gave Holler a thoughtful look. These small, breakable scavengers were brave enough to fight or ride a dragon who could eat them in 3 bites. Could I be that brave? Like, for instance, could I try to stop a war? Even if I don't have a magical jewel or a mythical prophecy to back me up? Even if my friends decide not to help, could I still do it? Isn't it important enough? Why shouldn't I try? So, what if there's no foretold destiny saying I have to? Shouldn't I do it anyway? Just because I want to? But how? She tapped her claw on the ground, thinking. Yibble rubble fnup? Holler said. She pointed to Sunny's shoulder again. Sorry, Holler. I don't have time to take you for another ride, Sunny said regretfully. I have to go. She shook out her wings and reached to scoop all the treasure back into the sack. She was a little bit tempted to let the scavengers keep it, but she had a feeling she could find some use for it, giving it back to the Sandwings, perhaps. I'm going to find my friends and see if they'll help me, she informed Fluffy and Holler, and then I've got a war to stop. She patted them each gently on their heads, before gathering her wings to take off. As she sailed through the sky, she looked back and saw them waving. She wondered if she'd ever see them again. Maybe she could come back and look for them after the war was over. The weather was with her this time, and she flew through the mountains much faster than she had on the way out. Then she'd have to stop every night if the Nightwings... The weather was with her this time, and she flew through the mountains much faster than she had on the way out, when she'd had to stop every time the Nightwings rested or ate. She always ate light, so it didn't take long for her to pause, catch, and eat a squirrel or a lizard once a day, and keep flying. So it was only 2 days later when she cleared the mountains and saw the rainforest ahead of them, illuminated by the rising sun beyond it. It looked so vast and green and peaceful. Sunny found herself caught by a moment of longing. I wish that she could just dive into those leaves and stay there forever. That would be enough to do, helping Glory rule the rainforest and organize the Nightwings. It was beautiful, and there was always enough food, and the Rainwings were easygoing dragons to share a tree with. The war could come here eventually, she told herself. Even the Rainwings aren't safe. We already know that from what the Nightwings did to them, and between Scarlet and the 3 sisters looking for us, we probably aren't safe anywhere either. No hiding in caves. That's my promise to myself. No hiding at all. When the world is all wrong, I'm going to be a dragon who does something about it. Her nerves started to get the better of her the closer she got to the Rainwing village, though. She kept picturing her friends' faces. Doubtful, kind but condescending, all, "Really? You, Sunny? And that is sweet, but let's now be serious. Let's be serious." Her stomach was doing flips and spirals by the time she spotted the tree house on the outskirts of the early afternoon. And she was almost tempted to turn around and fly away again. What if they're mad at me? She suddenly thought with another stomach lurch. What if everyone's furious at me for running off? It had occurred to her to use the dream visitor while she was traveling, but she decided against it. She wanted to explain everything to her friends face to face. A movement distracted her from her thoughts. Something shifted out of the corner of her eye, but when she looked, she couldn't see anything but dangling vines and bright orange flowers. Immediately she ducked and rolled, so a tranquilizer dart shot right past her and thudded into a tree trunk, startling several shiny blue frogs. "It's me!" Sunny shouted, twisting to wave her claws at the leaves around her. "It's Sunny! I'm Queen Glory's friend!" She held out her talons and spread her wings wide, hoping one of the hidden rainwings would remember her. A face materialized on a nearby branch, his scales shifting from brown and green to dark purple. The dragon blinked a few times, looking more wary than most rainwings Sunny had ever met. "The queen was looking for a little gold dragon," said the voice behind Sunny, and another dragon emerged, this one shifting to the clementine orange of the flowers. This could be her. "Shouldn't we knock her out anyway?" asked the purple dragon, just to be safe. "You know the queen keeps telling us to be more careful." "She means about the nightwings," said the orange dragon blithely. "This one's not a nightwing. I'm sure she's fine." On the one talent, Sunny certainly didn't want to be shot with a dart. She wanted to be wide awake when she saw her friends again. On the other talent, she was afraid she could imagine this exact conversation if, say, a smoldering, vengeful skywing happened to show up in the rainforest looking for them. "Oh, she's not a nightwing? Well then, let's take her straight to the dragonettes, no worries." "I am Glory's friend," she promised them, deciding to worry about Scarlet later. "I need to see her." "Queen, let's see, she might be in the audience treehouse," said the orange dragon thoughtfully. "Or the healer's hut," said the purple dragon. "She's there a lot." "Or visiting the Nightwing camp, or checking on the progress of the school, or reviewing—" "All right," Sunny interrupted. "I'll just look for her. Thank you." They both flicked their tails and bobbed their heads, and their scales immediately began shifting back to camouflage as Sunny flew on. "The healer's hut," she decided, "so I can see Starflight." But before she got there, she spotted the mahogany brown scales of a mud ring stretched out on one of the sleeping platforms. Sorry. "Clay!" she yelped happily. She barreled up to him and nearly flung her wings around him before she realized it wasn't Clay at all. It was the mother Mudwing Dragonette, who jumped back with a startled expression and hit something behind his wings. "Well," Sunny said, skidding to a stop on the wood. "Who are you?" "Who are you?" he responded rudely. Sunny usually liked everybody, at least at first, but something about this dragon immediately rubbed her in the wrong way. "Where's Clay?" she asked. "How should I know?" he demanded. Sunny frowned at him, then turned to fly away. If he didn't want to be helpful, she didn't need to bother him. She didn't need to bother with him. "Hey, come back!" he called. Sunny ignored him. She had noticed the angle of the sunlight and realized it was the Rainwing's sun time, when most of them would be sleeping high up in the treetops, recharging their scales. She wondered if Glory was up there too, or if she ever let herself sleep. There it was. Just then, she spotted the healer's hut, and coming out of it, opening his wings to fly, was Clay. Definitely Clay this time. Every wonderful brown scale of him. Sunny dove into his wings, nearly knocking him backward, except that he was big enough to catch her. He made an oof noise, and then realized who it was. "Sunny!" he roared. "It's you! You're alive! You're alright!" He seized her and flung her around, her tail flying out behind her, and then quickly put her down. "Are you alright?" he asked anxiously. He touched her wings and checked her talons. "Sorry. We thought something terrible had happened to you. We've been searching and searching. Come in!" He dragged her into the hut before she could say anything. "Starflight, Sunny's back!" Two black dragons turned their heads in unison toward the door. Sunny recognized Fatespeaker, the Nightwing who had been one of the alternate dragonettes raised by the Talons in case they needed a spare set to fulfill the prophecy. She was crouched beside a nest of leaves where Starflight was lying with his wings spread out. Sunny flinched at the sight of the burns all along Starflight's dark scales. Some kind of silvery ointment glistened over the wounds, and she saw a little of it on Fatespeaker's talons as well, as if she'd been helping to put him on. "Starflight? Bleh. Sunny?" Starflight said with a hoarse voice. "Really?" Sunny realized with a stab of guilt and horror that Starflight's eyes were covered with a mask of leaves, carefully plastered in place. "It's me," she said, hurrying over to his side. She nudged his shoulder gently with her snout, trying to share her warmth with him. "I'm here." Starflight let out his breath. "Are you alright?" he said anxiously. "Better than you are," she tried to joke. I told him you were fine," Fatespeaker interjected with a hopeful voice. She patted the edge of the leaves where Starflight lay. "I had a vision. I mean, it was fuzzy, but I was pretty sure you were fine." Starflight coughed awkwardly, as if he'd been trying to avoid talking about Fatespeaker's visions for days. Sunny remembered what Stonemower had told her, that no Nightwings had prophetic powers or mind-reading for generations. So was Fatespeaker lying? Or did she believe in her own wild stories? She didn't seem cruel enough to deceive Starflight about whether Sunny was alright, but then Sunny didn't really know her at all. "I'm sorry I wasn't here to take care of you," Sunny said, touching one of Starflight's wings gently. "I took care of him," Fatespeaker said. Sunny felt a flash of something odd, like she wanted Fatespeaker to shush and go away. Jealousy? But wouldn't that mean that I like Starflight the way he likes me? Did she? It would be nice if she could love him back. It would make him happy, and she did care about him. Plus, he was a real hero. He just saved the entire Nightwing tribe from extinction. "We don't have time for mushy romance right now anyway," she told herself sternly. "Whatever's going to happen with me and Starflight, wherever we are, we'll figure it out after we stop the war." She glanced around the room and noticed that Webbs was still there, asleep in a corner, although the venomous scratch on his tail looked almost completely healed. There were a few Rainwings as well, 4 with injuries that might have happened during the attack on the Nightwing Island, and 2 others whose breaths rattled as in their skinny chests as they slept. Sunny guessed that they had been prisoners and were still recovering from their treatment at the talons of the Nightwings. She could see spots on their snouts and ankles where iron bands had rubbed the scales raw. The only other dragon occupying a bed was a Skywing Flame. He'd grown up with Fatespeaker among the Talons of Peace as another possible alternate for the dragonettes. She could tell that the healers had applied the cactus milk antidote to the wound that slashed across his face. But it would still leave a nasty scar. She wondered if his face had looked that furious before he was injured. She suspected yes. He was awake, glaring around the treehouse, with trails of smoke coming out of his nose and ears. "So, where were you?" Clay asked, bumping Sunny's wing with his own. "Tsunami thought maybe you'd been kidnapped. Isn't that crazy?" "Well, I kind of was kidnapped," Sunny admitted. Starflight and Fatespeaker both gasped. "But I got away! Except then I got caught again and I was a prisoner in Burn's stronghold for a while." "What?" Starflight tried to sit up and nearly fell off his own bed. Clay's eyes were wide and shocked. I'm here now, aren't I? Sunny said, it all turned out fine. I've taken care of myself. Mostly, she added honestly. It was a little crazy. But I should tell you all at the same time. Where are Sunny and Glory? Tsunami was drilling rain wings in evasive maneuvers. Although apparently what that actually meant was a lot of yelling things like, pay attention and leave that toucan alone, and why are you pink? Stop being pink! And 3 moons, are you eating again? Sunny half hoped that meant she'd be all yelled out, but of course it didn't. Tsunami had plenty of yelling energy left for Sunny. Where have you been? She roared. Do you know how worried we've been? How could you do that to us? I was so sure the Nightwings did something to you that I nearly threw them all back in the volcano. We've had search parties out every day, but not one sign of you anywhere. Not even Deathbringer. Well, he said he smelled you over to the west, but who trusts him? Not me, Sue. I haven't slept in days, Sunny. Days! She grabbed Sunny and wrapped her wings around her in a fierce hug. Aww. Sunny felt her own anger melting and realized she'd been furious with Tsunami ever since overhearing the conversation in the obsidian mirror. She may not take me seriously, Sunny thought, but she really does love me. I'm sorry, Sunny said, muffled, into Tsunami's shoulder, but I swear I was doing important things. I'll tell you all about it. Where's Glory? Checking on the Nightwing camp, Tsunami said, relaxing her grip on Sunny, but keeping one wing around her. She is kind of awesome with them, all scary and tough and royal, like a real queen. Do not tell her I said that. Sunny grinned up at her. Are they behaving? For the most part, Tsunami said. They were all absolutely starving, so just giving them enough food is making them a whole lot happier and easier to deal with. Glory's letting them hunt and eat as much as they want, except for the sloths. Those are off limits, apparently. I guess being a giant sucker for cute furry things is a Rainwing genetic defect. I wouldn't eat them either, Sunny pointed out. Well, but that makes sense, Tsunami said. You practically are a cute furry thing. Sunny debated getting riled up about this, but Tsunami was already turning to one of the Rainwings, all of whom were staring nosily at Sunny and ordering him to fetch Glory. Tell him to meet us in the healer's hut, she said, and no dawdling. If you stop to admire as much as one beetle, I will seriously bite you. All right, said the Rainwing said affably, and flew off in a way that probably counted as a hurry for a Rainwing, but was only marginally faster than your average snail. I swear, Tsunami muttered through her teeth. Sunny, you'll probably be shocked to hear this, but I don't think I'd make a very good Rainwing. Sunny laughed. I missed you, she said, and meant it. It wasn't long before they were all gathered around Starflight's bed. Sunny felt a rush of joy as Glory swept into the room. Here were all her friends, all together in one place, like they were supposed to be. Sunny, Glory said, and the relief in her voice was matched by the bright yellows of her scales. She even reached out and squeezed Sunny's front talons, which was more affection than Sunny would have expected from her. Thank goodness you're alive. Because now I can totally behead you. Starflight, what's our official policy on beheading right now? Our constitution says no beheading Sunny, he said loyally. Let's amend that, Glory said flickering to I can behead anyone who worries me half to death like this. I know you're probably mad, Sunny said. Glory's ears and wings were starting to shade more red than yellow. Okay, definitely mad, but there were lots of stuff happening. There were lots of stuff happened, and it better be wildly important stuff. Glory growled. You know what I don't need in my first week as queen, in addition to a whole new tribe of pretty much the worst, most unhealthy, most annoying dragons ever. I don't need to also be freaking out because one of my friends has disappeared. I don't need to be using my best dragons on patrol searching for you when they should be helping me run a brand new experimental 2-tribe kingdom. That's me, Deathbringer said, poking his head in from outside. Sunny yelped. Not yelped. Sunny jumped. She still wasn't used to seeing any Nightwings in the Rainwing village apart from Starflight. Oh, when she says her best dragons, she's talking about me. I am not. Glory said a little. I am not. Glory said a little too indignantly. Sunny thought, quit stalking me. This is not stalking, he objected, sliding into the room as if he were perfectly welcome. This is protecting you. Nobody invited you to this private conversation, Tsunami said bossily. I am just making sure the queen is safe, he said, spreading his wings. The queen can take care of herself, Glory pointed out. Out of the 2 dragons in question, the queen happens to be the one with camouflage scales who can shoot venom. What can you do again? Sit in the dark, is that it? Guess what? I can do that too. Inky black spilled across the scales, and she looked down her snout at him. I can stop dragons from killing you, he said. 3 assassination plots so far, your majesty. No one's better at stopping assassins than the world's best assassin. You poor dragon, Glory said. If only you had a shred of self-esteem. What? Sunny cried, dismayed. Nightwings have tried to kill you 3 times already? So he says, Glory observed. She didn't look remotely scared or even ruffled. Apparently he's my bodyguard now. Not everyone asked him to be any... It's true, I did have to fight my way past a whole pack of volunteers. He mused mockingly. Oh, no wait, it's just me, the only dragon who cares if you live or die. He's just trying to make his list look longer than mine. He's just trying to make his list look longer than mine, Glory said to Sunny. We're keeping a track of who has saved me more often. I say it doesn't count if you have to save me from your own dragon murdering self. And he says I shouldn't get credit for sending him away before the Icewings got him. Sunny couldn't help but notice that Deathbringer was apparently allowed to know where the Rainwing village was and to roam around it freely. So whatever she said about him, Glory really must trust him, certainly more than any other Nightwing. If you two are quite finished jabbing at each other, Tsunami said, rolling her eyes, I'd like to hear what Sunny's been doing this last week. Me too, Clay said fervently, settling up beside her. Sunny twinned her tail around his, relieved that at least one of her friends wouldn't be mad at her, no matter what she'd done or how worried he'd been. Well, she said, I found my parents, and I met Burn's brother, and I saw Peril again, and Queen Scarlet is alive. Oh, and she's maybe coming here to kill us, although I hope he doesn't really know where we are, although she said she did. Glory cleared her throat quietly, but everyone turned to look at her anyway. She said, so, yes, she actually does know where we are. She squinted at the skylight, rubbing the back of her head. She maybe visited me in a dream with a dream visitor and saw where it was. So, yes. That seems like something worth mentioning, Tsunami yelled. I was going to tell you all, Glory said haughtily. But then Starflight disappeared and I became queen and I got a little busy. Anyway, Sunny interrupted before the 2 of them could start one of their interminable arguments. So she was in Burn's stronghold, but she's not anymore. Could you start at the beginning? Starflight asked. I'm a little confused. Me too, Fatespeaker chimed in. As if anyone asked you, Sunny thought, and felt incredibly guilty for thinking it. Alright, Sunny said. It started with these 3 Nightwings grabbing me. End of chapter 19. Oh, she's jealous. Aw, those 3 would make a perfect couple, I say you. Those 3 are perfect for each other if just Sunny and Fatespeaker could realize that hey, they don't actually have to fight for his attention when they can both get it equally. They could be a throuple. Cutest throuple ever. 2.5 night wings. Sorry. Anyway, last chapter of the day. How many pages? Sorry. 6 and a bit. So, not a long chapter. That's last chapter of the day. Chapter 20. And so, Sunny finished. I decided we shouldn't wait any longer. Maybe we'll never find the Eye of Onyx, but we can still choose a queen and end the war. Someone has to, and I think it should be us. She paused and looked around at her friends, whose faces ranged from disbelieving to astonished to terribly worried. I can't believe all of that happened to you, Starflight said in a low, shaken voice. And we weren't there to protect you, Tsunami said, exchanging a glance with Clay. I think she did alright, Gloria said unexpectedly. Stealing the obsidian mirror, that was crazy brave. Crazy and brave, I mean. And talking Peril into saving Thorn, well, that would have made me nervous. Also, confronting scavengers. Deathbringer chimed in. He gave a little shudder out to his wingtips. No, thanks. Not for me. You're scared of scavengers? Glory asked, amused. No, he said. They just give me the heebie-jeebies, that's all. With their eyes and paws and faces. They're pretty cute, Glory said. That's pretty cute, Glory said. The big bad assassin, terrified of itty-bitty scavengers. One day I'll throw a sword-waving scavenger at you and see how tough you are, he bridled. But, Sunny, Clay interjected, we can't stop the war. The prophecy isn't true, remember? So, she said, if there had never been a prophecy, would the war have to go on forever? No. It has to end sometime. I vote right now. But it doesn't have to be us, Starflight said, then immediately added an almost mumble. Maybe it has to be us. He reached up to the leaves around his eyes, remembered they were there, and lowered his claws again. No, Fatespeaker said, grabbing Starflight's talons. It doesn't have to be you. It especially doesn't have to be you. You've done enough. Sunny's right, though, he said. Why shouldn't it be us? Maybe everyone else is waiting for the prophecy, and so they don't realize they could end the war themselves. And think about all the dragons who need this war to be over. My brothers and sisters, said Clay, if they're still alive. Anemone, Tsunami said, so she doesn't have to use her animate powers and lose a soul. All the Soundwings, Glory added, they need a queen and a unified kingdom. So, will you help me? Sunny said, picking nervously at a vine of small star-shaped red flowers that snaked through the window. Well, even if we did, what's the plan? Tsunami said practically. Pick a queen and then send Deathbringer to kill the other two? Yikes, Deathbringer said, flaring his wings. Give me an easy job, why don't you? Oh, if only we knew Peria's best assassin. Glory mused teasingly. No, Sunny said, flapping between them before they could go too far down that road. No killing! It would be almost impossible. Tsunami mused. I assume dragons have tried before. What if we got an animist to enchant something? Starflight suggested. That was Blizzard's plan to use Anemone, and it was a smart one. Enchant a spear to go kill Burn. Or perhaps we could put a life essence in the tree and set it on fire, or something like that. We're not making an Anemone do that! Tsunami snarled. Are you serious? Can an animist dragon really do those things? Fatespeaker asked. That's absolutely terrifying. Oh my god, they are not listening to Sunny at all! Oh my god! It's a little more complicated than that, but basically, Deathbringer answered her, and yes, it's terrifying. No! Sunny said again, we're not going to kill them! I agree with Tsunami, Clay said. We can't ask Anemone to use her powers. That would be awful for her. I wasn't thinking of Anemone, Starflight protested. I was thinking of Sunny's father, Stonemower. He's sort of beyond hope anyway, isn't he? Is he? Sunny closed her mouth to think about that. She had a feeling that if he uses magic again, it would be it for Stonemower, especially if he used it for something as massive as killing 2 dragons. But wouldn't it be worth it? To save the rest of Pyria? Would he do it? Could she bring herself to ask him to do it? He was disappointing, but he was still a father. Didn't you want to get to know him better? Well, either of those options. With either of those options, we'd have to pick which sister we want to be queen, Glory said, and they're all terrible. Blaze seems nice, Clay said optimistically. Blaze is a dizzy idiot who would be dead by 2 days, Glory said. I say Blister, she's evil but she's smart, so she'd probably rule the kingdom fine, and if we're allies, she'll leave us alone, I think. Well, maybe not. Okay, probably not. But at least we'd know where she was. Wait! Sunny said, I don't want to kill any of them! Ben is at least awful, Tsunami argued. She's mean, but she's not scheming. We'd see her coming if she tried anything on us. Mean and brutal, Starflight reminded her. Remember the murdered dragons in her collection and the Skywing egg she smashed? Just an egg, not even a dragonette yet. As long as she's alive, I don't think we're safe. He paused and added, I don't think Sunny will be safe. Sunny leaned over to brush his wing with hers. So, how do we decide? Clay said. Who do we choose and who and how? I mean, are we really going to... No! Sunny said, listen to me for once, please! But Tsunami, Glory, Fatespeaker, and Deathbringer all started talking over her at once, arguing about the sisters and how to get rid of them. Sunny clapped her talons over her ears and shouted, Stop! I said stop! Everyone blinked at her in the sudden silence. No, she said again, more firmly. We're not killing any of them. We're not using magic to do something underhanded. We are going to get all 3 of them in one place, and then we will either have a competition like the Rainwings have, or we'll let the Sandwings decide. Let the Sandwings decide? Tsunami said skeptically. What? Like when we decide things together, Starflight said, understanding immediately. By voting, or talking it out, like the Nightwings, or Queen Coral's council. The Sandwings, Glory said. I don't see how that could work. They'll never agree to it, Deathbringer said, shaking his head. The sisters. They haven't... I'm reading Wings of Fire. The sisters. They haven't been in one place together in over 18 years. They certainly won't put their decisions about the throne in the claws of their future subjects. Yeah, Wings of Fire is awesome. Well, that's what we're going to try, Sunny said stubbornly. I think we can put them all together, especially if you guys help me. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. I'm doing it anyway. She settled her wings back and looked at her friends defiantly. There was a long pause. Sunny could imagine what they were thinking. What they were about to say. Oh, Sunny, it's a sweet idea, but it'll never work. You have too much faith in the goodness of dragons. You're so naive and ridiculous. Why don't you work on a project here in the rainforest instead, like counting bananas or something? Your crazy ideas and obsessions with prophecy is just... Alright, said Clay. I'm in. Sunny's heart leaped. She beamed at him. Me too, said Starflight, struggling to his feet. It's worth a try. I want it to work. But you need to rest, Fate Speaker protested. We need to be safe, Starflight said. And we won't be safe, and neither will our friends and all the dragons who count on us until the war is over. I agree, said Glory. I'll help you. Although I can't leave my dragons here for long, not with a Nightwing so close by and not settled yet. My pronouns are they, moon. No, I did not say Harry Potter. I do not wear links, and why should I say a thank you? Yeah, they, moon, I say. What about it? Ah. You guys are so confusing. I agree, said Glory. I'll help too. Although I can't leave my dragons here for long, not with the Nightwing so close by and not settled yet. The Nightwings are your dragons too, now, Deathbringer pointed out. We're almost done with this chapter and then the stream will end. Why is it that my streams are always found at the end by a lot of random people who try and offend me? It's weird. Anyway. Sunny caught the way he looked at Glory and thought, what he really means is, I am yours, now and forever. Is that how Starflight feels about me? She glanced at him with his sad bandaged eyes and determined expression. I don't think that's how I feel about him. I mean, I love him, but not like that. Fine, Tsunami said. Fine, yes, of course I'm in. It's never going to work, but I'll do it. Whatever it is. So, then what are we doing? Suddenly, they were all looking at Sunny. Even Starflight's face was tilted in her direction. You wanted their attention. You wanted them to listen to you. You'd better earn it. We start by sending a message to Burn, Blister, and Blaze, she said firmly. We start with Blister. And we get to her through the talents of peace. End of chapter 20. What the actual fuck is wrong with you people? Well, that was the end of that chapter and the end of what we're going to be reading today. I will be reading more tomorrow another 5 chapters, and well, I'm excited to see what Sunny really has planned and how it's going to work out, because we don't have that much more of the book left, so it's exciting. But yeah, peace. One sec. Here we go. Kitty's back. Yes. Look at him. He's a handsome boyo. Been to the vet today. He's such a strong, handsome boyo. Yeah. Yes, so brave. Yeah. He's just been lying behind my computer this entire time. Cutie. You lie down again? Pretty sure the medicine he's gotten today is what's making him quite drowsy and lacking energy. That's okay, he needs to take it slow. But yeah, I'll be continuing with reading the book tomorrow. Yeah, that's that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm going to end the stream today for now. I hope you had a great time listening to me read. But yeah, remember to hydrate, don't dehydrate. Thank you, Elliot. But yeah, remember to hydrate, don't dehydrate. Be decent human beings. Treat others like you want them to treat you. Be overall kind. Remember to eat healthily and all that. And yeah. Love all you guys who are being decent human beings.
Remember the night they split and we all cried.